Well, in my last video, we talked about the power of authenticity in leadership and the importance of leading without a mask and inviting people to do life with us and being honest with people about some of the challenges we face, the difficulties, but also the dreams and the passions that we live with. In this video, I want to focus on the importance of encouragement and how powerful encouragement is in seeing the people around us flourish and step into everything God's called them to. Proverbs 18:21 tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. You know, the truth is our words are powerful. And as leaders, we can either use our words to bring death or discouragement or to wound the people we're leading, or we can use our words to bring life and impart faith and encourage the people we're leading to see them flourish in God. Encouragement is so powerful in leadership. And I love seeing examples through scripture of encouragement and the impact it has. Lots of things that we could look at, but Mordecai giving courage to Esther. Esther was in the king's palace. Mordecai found out there's a plot to wipe out the Jewish nation. He says to Esther, go to the king and plead for mercy. But Esther knows if I go to the king, I could be killed. But Mordecai says to her, well, who knows, maybe you have been born for such a time as this. He puts courage into her. She approaches the king and the nation is saved. Another example, Jonathan and his armor bearer. I love this story. Jonathan has this crazy plan about how to defeat a Philistine army. He says to his armor bearer, if they say, come up to us, we know that God's given us victory. And what I love is the armor bearer doesn't say, you're crazy, Jonathan, that's a stupid idea. He says, do whatever is in your heart, I am with you. He puts courage into Jonathan, and together they see an incredible victory. Maybe my favourite story is when Jesus interacts with a woman who breaks the alabaster jar over him. She walks into this room, she makes herself vulnerable, she gives everything to Jesus, and the disciples don't like it. And they look at her and say, what's she doing? What a mess, she's interrupting, that is such a waste of money. She could have given that money to the poor. But Jesus cuts across all that and says, be quiet. Leave her alone. She's done a beautiful thing for me. In fact, wherever the gospel is preached, her story will be told to remember her. How amazing is that? Imagine the different trajectories of that woman's life based on which words were ringing in her ears. If she just heard the disciples and what they said, her life would have gone in one direction. But because she heard Jesus and she heard his encouragement and him speaking truth, it would have put something in her that led to a completely different trajectory in her life. Encouragement is so powerful, and when we lead like Jesus and we lead as sons and daughters secure in our identity, a natural outworking of that is we are going to give courage to people through the things that we say. And I've experienced it firsthand. I remember once preparing a preach for a Sunday, and I'd prepared this preach and it felt pretty significant actually. God had spoken, I was feeling very confident. But then on the Sunday morning, all of a sudden I had a crisis of confidence and I suddenly was questioning everything I'd prepared, and I just felt so sick. I thought this is going to be rubbish. I didn't have any sense of it being any good anymore. And we had this prayer meeting before the Sunday service, and Phil Wilthew, who's an elder at our church, came over to me and prayed for me. And he just prayed truth. He spoke truth over me. He called out who I am, spoke about who I am and what I carry. And at the end of praying, he looked me in the eye and he said, Wendy, go for it this morning. We've got your back. Don't hold back. And honestly, I felt this surge of life and courage flow into me, and I just remember standing taller and feeling better about myself and feeling confident again. And I preached probably one of the most free times I've ever felt that morning because of Phil's encouragement. I tell you, when we encourage people, something spiritual happens. we are able to literally put courage into people. And I absolutely love encouragement. I have seen the impact of encouragement over so many years, where I've looked someone in the eye, and sometimes you have to help people to learn to receive encouragement because we're not so good at it, but looked someone in the eye and spoken truth and told them, this is what I see in you and you can do it and we're right behind you and Jesus has got you and it's going to be okay. And you can see life flowing into people and courage coming into people, and then you get to see people step into some of the stuff God's called them to, and that is such an incredible privilege. Listen, let me tell you, encouragement costs us very little as leaders, but you just never know the impact it's going to have. You could speak a couple of sentences of encouragement to someone and they could then go on to be the next revivalist, the next head teacher, the next government official, the next pioneering medical scientist. You just never know what's going to happen. It costs us very little, but the kingdom impact could be huge. So let me ask you, who are you encouraging? Are you encouraging the people you're leading? Who could you encourage off the back of watching this? Who could you text or send an email to or send a card to or get some time with to have a coffee to speak truth to them? Our words are powerful, and as leaders we can literally put courage into the people we're leading and see them flourish in God. Next week we're going to look at the fact that as leaders we're called to multiply the people around us, and we're going to look at a tool to help us to do that.